a very cold morning, and I'm really happy to be with you through this YouTube class. Today's class, as you see on the whiteboard, is for class 8. And as I had discussed yesterday, I am ready to discuss the sample letter with you. Please take notice of the format which I have followed on the whiteboard, because this is something which you need to know. What is it that you need to know? Writing a formal letter. How do you write a formal letter? What is the structure? We had already discussed this. These points have been discussed. And today you see a sample letter. And take notice of the structure, take notice of the language, take notice of the details. All these are to be taken very seriously, because most of us fail in writing a proper leave application. You see, the problem lies with the language. What is a language? What is English language? It is not just a means to communicate, but it is also used for writing. There are two kinds of English, in the sense formal English and informal English. What is formal English? The English that you use for writing, for communicating something to somebody, to a higher official, to a person of authority. We use a very perfect language, free of grammatical error and with certain terms. So this is known as formal English. And opposite of formal English is informal English. What do you mean by informal English? The language that we use for communication. We talk with one another. So when we talk with one another, we can be at liberty. We can be free in using certain words, some slang terms. Okay, I will discuss what a slang term is in another class. But even when you make some grammatical errors while communicating, it's not that serious. People don't take it too seriously. But when it comes to writing, when it comes to formal English, you must keep this point in mind. That is, your language must be error-free, should be free of all grammatical errors. And the next point is the style. You have to maintain a very, very polite style, so that your problem, the problem that you are stating, may be read and taken action. And action may be taken upon that. So, being polite while seeking permission is the first and foremost thing. Please keep this in mind. Being polite and using correct English, error-free English, the correct terms, these are the key points that you need to keep in mind. And the teachers who correct your letter or correct your paper will look for those key terms, the language, the style, the way you express, right? So these points need to be kept in mind before you start writing a letter. And I always recommend students that they maintain a rough draft. You see, when we were students, we never wrote a letter straight away on the copybook. Our teachers used to say, first make a rough draft. So we used to write a rough draft, and after that we go over the rough draft and see the mistakes that we have made, and the teachers used to correct the rough draft. Then he or she used to tell us to make a final draft. That is a fair draft. So if you can follow that, that will also be of great help. So before writing an application, make a rough draft. But students don't do that these days. They just get into the writing directly. They write whatever comes to their mind. It's all muddled up. The language is muddled up. And finally it goes to the table of the principal or to the class teacher. And the class teacher or the principal, while going through the application, becomes, really upset. Because the language is not maintained. The problem is that you are weak in grammar and you have not made a rough draft. So these two things are to be kept in mind. Error-free. Your letter should be simple. It should not be an elaborate letter. Always keep this in mind. You are not writing an essay. It is not a story. It is not an article where a long description is required. No, not at all. It is a brief writing. A formal piece of writing. Remember this, it's a formal piece of writing, and a formal piece of writing is very, very brief. You don't beat about the bush, you come to the point straight. Down to earth, we call it as down to earth, precise. Be down to earth and be precise. To the point. Now look at this. We start the letter. What is the question? Write a letter to your principal requesting him or her, if she is a lady, for 2 days leave as you have to attend on your uncle who is hospitalized. Now I have used a phrase here, to attend on. What do you mean by this? Take care of these expressions. They are very important. Attend on. What does it mean? To look after. Your uncle is in need of your service and you need to kind of serve him. So your service is required. That is the meaning of the expression to attend on. To serve him. Okay, to be with him and look after him. That is what is meant by this phrase, to attend on. So your uncle is hospitalized and you need to attend on him. So you write a letter to your principal. Now look at this. How does the letter start? It starts with the sender's address. What does it start with? It starts with the sender's address. So Roshan is the person who is writing and he is in class 8B. 8 is a class, B is a section, and then you have roll number 23. That is his roll number. So, why do I mention these details? It will be comfortable or convenient for the teacher or the principal to know as to which class the student is from and the section and the roll number. So, it will be easy for them to mark your attendance. Right? And it will be filed. The class teacher will file your application. Or if it goes to the principal's desk, she will keep it in a special file. Right? So, this particular part, that is these details which are mentioned here, are very important. So, you start with the name and the details of your class, section and your roll number. Then, the school, Bethel Mission School, Kadwatola, Gonda. So, the clear address, complete address is given and the pin code is also mentioned, 814133. So, in the sender's address, your name, your class, your section, your roll number and the school in which you are studying and the location where it is situated. So, these details make a complete sender's address. Then, you leave a space. The space may not be very clear here, but you have to leave a space. Give some space and then write the date, that is 7th December 2019. So, the date comes first, the month comes afterwards, and finally the year comes. Date, month and the year. Very, very important. And see how it is written in the last class. Yesterday, we have discussed this. How you write the date. Don't use the word date. Never. Never, never. So, the numeral, the number is used. Then the name of the month is written in letters. And finally, the year, that is 2020. So, with this, the letter, one part of the letter is getting over. The sender's address, then finally some space and then the date. The first step of the letter is finished. Or you can say a part of the letter is over. Now we come to the second part, receiver's address. Who is receiving the address? The letter. Who's receiving the letter? To whom are you writing the letter? To whom are you writing the letter? Matters the most. Now here it is a principal because the question demands that you write a letter to your principal. So, the principal, see how I write capital T and capital B. Yesterday, we had discussed this point. If you had watched my video or if you had listened, if you had attended the Zoom class, this particular point was also discussed. Why do I use the definite article? Because principal is a post. It is a designation. It is an official responsibility. Principal is the head of an institution. So you address the principal by the post or the designation. So capital T and then a capital P. So the principal, the manager, the headmaster, okay, the director. These are all designations, and when you write designations, capital letters are used. Keep that in mind. We use the caps. Look at the next slide. Bethel Mission School. Name of the school. Then the location, again, where it is situated. So you need not repeat the pin code because it's already mentioned here. So the principal, the name of the school of which she is the principal or he is the principal, then the location where the school is situated. Completed. So sender's address over, we have mentioned the day and we have also written down the receiver's address. And now we go to the next part. The first part of the letter is over. Now we go on to the second part. What is the second part? The opening of the letter. This is known as the opening. How do you open the letter? Respected manner. Dear respected man, or you can also use the word madam, or if it is a gentleman, then sir. Mind you, the principal might be a lady or a gentleman, so accordingly you must address. Here, write a letter to the principal of your school. So we have mentioned the principal's name, the principal of Buddha's Bethel Mission School. So we are addressing to the principal of Bethel Mission School, and we know she is a lady, so it should be ma'am. Okay, take care, take note of this. You have to be very, very careful in addressing the person. Then comes the subject. This is very important, the second part. Most of the students leave out this. This is a single line, but a very important line, because a letter without a subject is an incomplete letter. Mind you, a letter without a subject is an incomplete letter, because this is the most important part. What are you writing the letter for? That is mentioned in the subject. What are you writing the letter for? What does it aim at? Is it a permission-seeking letter? This is a permission-seeking letter. So, that must be clearly written. Requisition for leave. So, you are requesting for leave. Or permission for leave. This is another way of putting it. Permission for leave. You can note it this way. Or there is one more way. Leave of absence. This is a phrase. Leave of what? Leave of absence. So you can use any one of these expressions. Requisition for leave, if you find this to be difficult. Leave of absence, if you still find this to be difficult. Permission for leave. Or seeking permission for leave. This must be clearly stated. Clearly stated, because this is the subject. And see how I've written. All of you look at this. Subject and a colon. This punctuation mark is known as a colon. One dot below the other. Okay? Or one dot on top and one below. So this is known as the colon. So you keep a colon here. Subject, colon, requisition for leave, or whatever it is, as we have discussed. Use any expression as per your convenience or as per your choice. Now comes the body of the letter. This is the content of the letter. This is the content. What do you mean by content? The main part of the letter, the subject matter. So what is the subject matter here? With due respect. See how I open the letter. This polite term, with respect, has to be kind of there in your letter. You have to open the letter in a polite manner with all respect possible. That's why I say formal expression has to be used with due respect. This is a formal expression. It's not an informal expression, mind you. Formal expression. So, with due respect, I humbly. This word humbly has to find a mention, because you are praying for leave. You're praying. What do you mean by praying? Here praying doesn't mean praying to God. Here it means requesting. You're praying to your principal. You're praying to your principal. You're requesting your principal. And this word clearly indicates that there is a polite request. So the words that we choose are very, very important. The terms that we use, they matter the most. Correspondence. It is an art. Writing a letter, communicating a message to your authority is an art. For that you need to have a strong language with you and a perfect command. Otherwise, it will be difficult. You have to practice and practice and practice, because practice makes a man perfect. Remember. So, with due respect, I humbly wish to state. What is the meaning of humbly wish to state? What does this word state mean? Does it mean any state in India? No, definitely not. I wish to say. I humbly wish to state. I humbly wish to say. I humbly wish to put forward the request. Who is that? Humbly wish to state. Then comes the reason. The reason. What makes you apply for the leave? This is very, very important. What makes you apply for the leave? So, that my uncle who resides at Patna, I'm sorry I used the wrong preposition, in Patna. Patna is a big city. Okay? So, with due respect, I humbly wish to state, I would like to say that my uncle who resides in Patna, something has happened to your uncle. So before that, you give an information about your uncle, that is, he resides in Patna, has been admitted in Patna Medical College Hospital. What is this? Where? So what has happened? That question is answered. Where did it happen? Or where is the person kind of admitted? That is also there. This answers the question where, and this answers the question what. Okay, has been hospitalized in Patna Medical College Hospital. If you want to add the word Patna, that's okay. But I don't think it is required because you're already mentioning it. Right. I am unable. Okay, as my presence is required. This is a very good expression. As my presence is required. I have to be there. As my presence is required, and I need to attend on him. This is also an expression which tells you that what you're supposed to do. So if my uncle is hospitalized, I have to be there. They have requested my presence, and I have to serve him for at least one day. Be near him. That is my responsibility. To attend on him, I am unable to attend classes. This is a place where most students make mistakes, where they go wrong. What they say is, I won't come to class. I will not come to school. Wrong. There is no politeness if you use that expression. That is informal, but this is formal. I am unable. I don't have the ability to come. Okay? You are showing your, inability. I am unable to attend classes. The reason also is given. So, the reason has been clearly stated and the cause. Reason is your uncle is admitted and the cause is you cannot kind of attend class. So, finished. Then finally, therefore, you see the conjunction. It's a connector. Therefore, I humbly pray that. See the terms that we have used. I humbly request you, or I humbly pray. This word humbly is important. Very, very important. Because that shows you are praying for something. You are not ordering the principal, but you are requesting the principal because principal is your authority. So, a very polite expression has to be used. I humbly pray that. Okay? 3 days leave may be granted. Now sometimes students, they go wrong here. They'll write 3 days leaves. No, it is 3 days leave may be granted. May be granted. This word maybe is also important, because if the principal doesn't feel that your presence is not required, she can tell you very politely, sorry, I cannot leave you because something important is going on in your class, or exams are coming, or your presence is required, inspection is there. She might have her own kind of reasons. So may be granted, must be granted. No, some students, they're very clever. They try to show their over smartness and they say must be granted. Never in a letter which you pray for something, must definitely to be avoided. You must give me leave. Who are you to order your principal? You should give me leave. These models are not to be used. I shall not come to class. One of the worst expressions when you apply for it. These words are to be avoided by all means. So, may be granted from 7th December 2020 to 9th December 2020. So, you have also mentioned the dates now. Right? 3 days and the days are mentioned. Here again, thank you. Most of us are habituated to use the word thanking you. It's not thanking you. It's wrong. Outdated. Not acceptable. So, thank you is the right expression. I'm not thanking you just now. I thank you. Why do I thank you? Because I hope you will consider my application. That's why this word thank you is used. You see, these are the required terms. These are the required words. Then finally you close the letter. Yours faithfully, no apostrophe. We had discussed this point yesterday. Yours faithfully. Yes, you need to put a comma over here. And after that is not your name. It is your signature. I told you the difference between a signature and your name. Signature is your initials. So, my name is Xavier. This is how I do my signature. So, the signature comes first. Then you open a bracket and write your name in full. Name in full. That is important. So this is your full name, and above the full name you have a signature. With this the letter comes to a close. You see how short it is. If you are grammatically strong, you have a strong grammar with you and a good vocabulary, you can write a letter in 3 lines. Let me tell you one thing. This is not related to the letter but an information. You see, many students after completing their graduation or maybe their post-graduation, they apply for jobs abroad. For example, let's take the country UK. United Kingdom is a country which appoints people from abroad in various departments, nursing department, in the medical colleges and in the teaching line. So, they request them to write a resume. They write a resume. Resume is also kind of information, your educational qualification and some other points related to your personal life. So, that is a resume. Many students, they write resumes which go on to pages and pages. They are simply thrown away. I am telling you the fact. Don't try to impress your authorities by writing an elaborate resume. It's not going to invite their attention. What the people in UK, where English is spoken, whose mother tongue is English, expect is that how crisp you are and how brief you are. How can you express a particular point in 2 or 3 sentences which can run to 10 to 12 sentences? How brief can you be and how expressive can you be and how effective your words are? So from that they select you. So for that you need to have a good command in English. You must know how to express a large subject, an elaborate subject in a condensed manner by choosing effective words. So keep this in mind. Writing a letter is not easy. It is an art and you need to follow all these rules. If you keep these rules in mind and if you strengthen your grammar, writing a letter is not at all a difficult task, but it is something which is very interesting. So with this we wind up today's session. In the next class I will discuss something more important. There are many kinds of letters. We will discuss those letters one by one. But for today I think this much is enough. So go over the points, see the kind of example, the model of the letter, and try to write letters like this. Stay safe. Goodbye. Bismillah.